about a week or two when they assign you small claims cases. So you walk out of the courtroom, there's this many people in the courtroom. They each have a case that you have to hear before lunchtime, because after lunch there'll be a crowd the same size and they want their case heard. The typical case is, the dry cleaner ruined my dress, but he also tried to pick up my sister. So the lawyer comes up to me and said, Your Honor, I need a translator for this case. He said, not monumental cases. All right, what kind of a translator do you need? Italian. I called the courthouse administrator. The Italian translator is busy in another courtroom. So I say to the throngs, is there anybody here that can speak Italian? Little guy in the back raises his hand, he comes up. We swear in this character as the translator. We administer the oath to the witness. And the following is literally what happens. Lawyer to translator, give the court your name. Translator to witness, what is your name? I thought to myself, well, let me see where this is going to go. Lawyer to translator, tell the court your address. Translator to witness, where is your house? At this point, I looked at him, I said, I thought you told me that you could speak Italian. He said, I can't hear about my English, she's not too good. One time I was trying a drug distribution case where a guy was charged by the state with distributing a truckload of cocaine. Now, again, I walk out into the courtroom and there's twice as many people as there are here, from whom I have to pick jurors. In New Jersey, in the federal system, in some states, the judge actually interrogates the jurors in an effort to find 12 people who have no bias, no prejudice, no knowledge of the case, no interest in the outcome. Typical jurors don't want to be on cases, so I figured, why do you want to deal with these people if they don't want to be on the case? Is there anybody here who can't be on this case? The woman in the back raised her hand. She said, I can't be on this case because of my occupation. I thought, this guy's accused of distributing a truckload of cocaine. What could this lady's occupation be? I said, all right, madam, what do you do? She looks at me with a straight face and says, I'm a soothsayer. I thought to myself, well, this is 1995. Who the heck calls himself a soothsayer? When I fell for it, I said, all right, madam, how does that keep you from being on the case? She said, Judge, we already know how the trial ends up. I should have said, tell us now, lady, and save us the next 3 weeks in the courtroom. I have not hesitated to criticize whatever administration is in power when, in my view, its behavior assaults the Constitution, whether the government is run by Republicans or the government is run by Democrats. But I bear a small measure, very small measure of responsibility for the presidency of George W. Bush. I'm going to take you back to the recount era. You'll remember this. In November and December of 2000, as Fox's chief legal person, I had to become an expert in the arcane ways of Florida election law. You remember dimpled chads and hanging chads and that nonsense. One night, I'm on the air with my colleague Brady, who through the magic of television, it looks like we're together, but he's really in Washington and I'm really in New York. And we're talking about some legal issue involved in the case. Well, all of a sudden, Fox does one of those things that it does about 200 or 300 times every 30 minutes. One of those swoosh Fox alerts. So the alert bells and whistles come on, and the alert is this. The Florida Supreme Court has just ruled that the recounts are to resume not only in the 4 counties where Governor Bush has challenged Vice President Gore, but in all 70 counties of the state of Florida. And the Bush lawyers have announced that they're going to appeal this decision to the United States Court of Appeals for the 11th Circuit sitting in Atlanta. And Britt looks at me and said, what do you think about that? And I said, well, it's pretty basic law that you cannot appeal the final decision of a state highest court, usually called the Supreme Court, different terminology in some states, to a federal appellate court. He said, what should they do? I said, they should go to the house of Justice Anthony Kennedy, who's the circuit justice for the 11th Circuit, the member of the U.S. Supreme Court who hears emergency appeals, because at this point it was nighttime, and knock on his door and make an emergency application. He may accept their petition, he may stay, that is, stop the decision of the Florida Supreme Court for 24 hours until the clerk of the U.S. Supreme Court can poll the other 8 members of the court. At this point, Brigham's show was over, and I went up to my office to take a nap, in large measure because we were going 24/7 in those days, really because I had to be on the little Riley at 10 o'clock, and you need all the rest you can get for that. While I am sound asleep on the couch in my office, the following happens. My ever-charming, ever-garrulous, never one to miss a beat colleague Shepard Smith is on. And he's reading the news from the scriptwriter, the prompter, when all of a sudden Fox does another swoosh alert. And the alert is the following. Governor Bush's lawyers have just been cited in Georgetown, looking for the personal residence of Justice Anthony Kennedy in order to file some kind of an emergency appeal with the Supreme Court at Justice Kennedy's house. At this point, never one to miss a beat. He looks in the camera and said, "You know what that means? That means that George W. Bush is watching Fox." And he's getting his legal advice from Judge Napolitano. All right, I got another contract out of the deal. The rest, of course, is history. And we'll talk about a little bit of history as we bring ourselves up to the present point in time. And my view of history is from my job at Fox, even though I am a former life-tenured judge, and even though I am a former professor of law at a major law school, my view of history is that of a night watchman. People ask me what I do, I tell them I am a night watchman. I watch when the government wants to take your liberty and take your property. And since they don't like to do it when you're looking, they usually do it at night. So from ridiculous trials, like this character that claimed he could translate, to the most profound trials in history. Some men say the earth is flat, and some men say it is round. But if it is flat, could a law of Parliament make it round? And if it is round, could the king's command flatten it? These are words used by St. Thomas More, arguing before a jury in which he himself was the defendant on trial for high treason. The alleged and proven under the laws of the time act of treason was the refusal to recognize the king as the head of the church on earth. We know the outcome. He lost the trial, and his head was separated from the rest of his body. But when he was making this argument, he was not only appealing to the common sense of the jury. Of course, the Parliament couldn't make a flat earth round. And of course, the king couldn't make a round earth flat. But he was appealing to the jurors' understanding of the natural law, of laws of physics, of laws of life, of the natural order of things, of what Aquinas would later write, and Augustine had already written, was the natural law, the way God ordained things to be.